All right, everybody, welcome back to the Move podcast. We're talking about the up and comers. This was, JB, I know is one of your favorite shows, but we've talked about it as the year played out. It ended up being, it was a new idea for us, but it ended up being a hell of a lot of fun. Of course, we're really helped by having the one guy in the sport that truly does have a crystal ball sitting over there in Madrid, Johan Bruyneel. Was a little late for the podcast today. Apparently ran into some traffic. Our members, if you were listening to the pre-show, Johan went into this whole thing about how he was out, I guess, riding, and all these sheep were blocking the road. And then he told the story of the other day that a bunch of cows were blocking the road. Attacked his dog. And then anyways, you got to listen to that part. It's priceless Belgian wisdom. Mr. George Hincapie over there in Greenville, looking a little tired, maybe because I FaceTimed him and woke him up about 1 a.m. last night.
Yeah, that was quite a surprise. Like I mentioned in our pre-show notes that you were not the guy to ever pick up a FaceTime or make a FaceTime. So I figured it was important or had something to do with wine or some other stuff. And I was correct. That's right. That's right.
What was so urgent at 1 a.m. to get
nothing? We were with some Lindsay and Emily who were on our Mallorca camp, and like always, when you're around the hotties, they ask about George. All the hotties want to know, how's George? Where's George? When are we going to see George? I'm like, fuck. Let's just FaceTime him. Get off my back. There he was. He was asleep on his couch. Anyhow, also joined down there in ATX, Mr. JB Hager. JB, before we get into this, I have a question for you. Serious question.
All right. Okay.
What is, in light of this conversation about the 2023 up and comers and in light of Johan's presence with his crystal ball, fair question, serious question. What is the over under on how much we talk on this podcast?
Oh, the rest of us?
Yeah. Well, especially you and me.
Well, it's funny. I could do a graphic for socials of everybody's wave file. Like I always see that on JB Squared. You see like me go, and then Johan.
Yeah. A part of me thought, just, you know what? I think Johan should just do this one by himself.
Okay. So if it's a 40-minute, say it's a 40-minute show, Johan, we'll cover about 36 minutes.
No way.
But it's his brain we want on this, so it makes sense.
Before we get into it, because before we start the 2023 up and comers, I think it would be worth noting, talking about some of the ones that Johan has highlighted in the past, just to sort of establish the track record. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I know. It made a difference, watching the season last year, being familiar with these up and coming names. Yeah. This is just to show you who he mentioned last year at this time.
Yep.
Luke Plapp, Magnus Sheffield, Carlos Rodriguez, Juan Ayuso.
Big one.
Binyam Girmay.
Big one.
Quinn Simmons.
Great.
Just Tobias Foss, Ilan Van Wilder. Those were just some of the names I mentioned a year ago. And look how much we talked about those exact people over the course of the year.
See if he still has the magic.
Well, it's a risk sometimes, because these guys, they're more and more young guys. I mean, it's hard to pick. But today I would like to talk about 2 or 3 guys that we talked about last year also, because they're still 19 or 20 years old. So, but anyway, let's see if we get it.
We'll get into that. Before we do a little bit of business, today's show brought to you by Zwift. Anybody that's been following my Strava, you see it, right? That is not bullshit. I am fully converted. In fact, today I didn't Zwift today because my wife made me take her yoga class. And so I couldn't Zwift. I had to do the yoga class, by the way, like so bad at yoga. And I couldn't Zwift, and I just totally missed it. But I'm not alone, right? 20,000 of you guys and gals have joined us for Zwift rides, Wedu rides from 70 different countries, over 500,000 miles ridden on Wedu Zwift rides this past year. 21, how about this? 21 laps around the earth. Holy cow. Almost 80% of you who do Wedu Wednesday finish. The only one who rides hard on that, by the way, is George. I'm totally addicted. Also, they have their new Hub Direct Drive trainer. It's back in stock and selling like hotcakes. Affordable at $499. All you got to do is head on over to Zwift.com for a free trial to find out more. Today also brought to you by LMNT. We talk about it all the time. And as much as I have been Zwifting, and by the way, I've been Zwifting without my fan on. So I've been sweating, like projectile gross sweating. There's only one way around it, and that's LMNT. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. No sugar, no gluten, no artificial BS. It is the real deal. Special offer for our listeners. You get a free sample pack so you can try out all the different flavors. That's citrus, raspberry, orange, and unflavored. Dial in the one you like. Special offer again. Head on over to drinklmnt.com/themove. Again, drinklmnt.com/themove.
And you know what day it is, right? It's Friday. I mean, it's a little bit of tequila, some ice, and a splash of LMNT. It's a perfect cocktail for the evening.
What happened to dry January?
I made it 2 weeks because I had COVID and I couldn't eat or drink. So I made it about 2 weeks.
So I'll tell you a funny story. Okay. And I'm not going to say who the person is because they're annoying. So I go play golf about a year ago with a buddy at Bel Air Country Club in Los Angeles, one of my favorite tracks. And we had a tee time that wasn't going to allow us to finish. We were only going to get about 16 holes in. And sure enough, I walk up the pro shop and this annoying person is standing there like, "Hey, Lance, what's up?" I'm like, "Oh God." So they happen to have a tee time. It's like 20 minutes early. So that's going to guarantee I get my 18 holes. My buddy says, "Dude, you want to play with so-and-so?" Like, "I don't know, man, this person's really annoying, but I want to finish. I want to play 18. So I suck it up and I play 18 with this person. And it's in January. It was a year ago. And everybody starts talking about dry January, this, that, and the other. And he goes, "You know what?" This being the annoying person, but this is really funny as shit. He says, I've got a new approach to this. It's called damp January. And I was like, "All right, man, that was funny, dude. Like you are annoying, but that's fucking funny."
Was it OJ?
January.
If it was OJ, I would have said it was OJ, and it was not OJ. Anyways, let's talk about it. How should we do this? You want to just go down the list?
So there's, as I said, there's the first 4 or 5 I have on my list are established pros already. But I think, they're 20 years old, 19 years old, 21 years old. I think it's worth mentioning them because I think personally that they're going to be big factors this season.
Let me ask you this: when you're selecting these, Johan, are you picking anyone that they may be a good sprinter, they may be a good climber, they may be the perfect domestique for a team?
There's a bit of everything.
Okay,
there's a bit of everything. If we let's say if we start with the guy like Magnus Sheffield, from the United States, he's on Ineos. I think it's his second year pro.
So we have a repeat.
Yeah. So we talked about him last year. Incredible power. He won a nice race in Belgium, one of those classics, Flèche Brabançonne, which is
hard race.
You guys have done it.
Actually, I've never done it, but I know it's a hard race.
You've never done it? Okay.
Yeah, he's done it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think
we did it together. We flew up in your Jizzy to go do it one year, 2005.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it's he was there last year, a little bit inconsistent, but to me, and especially I've seen him now at the Tour Down Under. He's up there, and he looks like he's lost the baby fat. Like looks leaner. And I personally think that guy. I mean, listen, he has this incredible world record over the 4 kilometers in the juniors. I think. A guy who has that kind of potential and that kind of power is a huge cyclist.
And I remember last year, and I don't remember, of course, I don't remember the race, but there was some race that you were watching where Sheffield was in, and you put it on our group chat, and where he just apparently just went to the front and obliterated the field.
Right?
I think it was Burgos.
It's
Was it Burgos or
Ruta del Sol.
was it also? And then almost won Tour Denmark. He's a great kid from a great family from Rochester, New York, which Rochester winters make Belgium look like, Spanish holidays in terms of temperature. So he's a hard kid. He's used to all kinds of conditions. And I mean, there is no style. Like you said, Johan, he's already showing form in Tour Down Under. I personally think he could have won the prologue, but he went in the rain and just missed out winning by a few seconds. So he's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
All right. Number 2, we have, this when these Belgian names, I think we ought to just step aside, guys. Or should we all just attempt to say this name?
Okay. Give it a try.
Oh, geez.
Okay. Let me get my glasses on. I don't want to miss a letter. There's a lot of fucking letters in this kid's name. Sion Ujitbrooks.
Okay. George, you make it.
Sion
I'm up.
Chan.
I'm going to say Chan Udebrooks.
It's Kian.
We've already very off.
Uit de broeks.
Uit de broeks. Does that mean out of your pants?
Exactly. Yeah, you got that right.
Well, we could have some. Let's hope this kid is successful because we could have some fun with this fucking guy. I mean, the guy started winning races. Man, he's out of his pants.
We also talked about him last year. He was 18 and he already made the move to Bora. And he won the Tour de l'Avenir in an incredible fashion, very dominant against his peers. But then other races, other professional races, I mean, at 18 years old, he was up there 5th, 6th. This kid has been announced like in the juniors as having more potential than Remco Evenepoel. He was on the same team as a junior, and then he, the guy who had Evenepoel said, this guy is at least as good. I find that hard to believe, but the way he won the Tour de l'Avenir last year was really, really, really impressive.
Well, can I just double click on that, Johan? Because here you have, we're talking about a Belgian kid. So you have a country, Belgium, right? That's cycling mad, obviously, has got some great guys now. But the country is for the last, I don't know how long, 40, 50 years, has been looking for the next Eddie Merckx. Mm-hmm. And it's always this burden and this heavy cross that these kids have to take. Oh, he's the next Merckx. He's the next Merckx. Van den Broek was the next Merckx. So-and-so's the next Merckx. And they're saying that about Remco. Imagine, let's just go the next. So now Remco has to be carry the weight of potentially being the next Merckx for Belgian fans. But then you got a kid who now is also, they're saying, is the next Remco.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's like triple pressure.
I know. But, these guys are, and George, you probably know because you had one of his teammates on your Fondo, and the way this guy looks at cycling, the way he, measures everything, the way he's professional. I mean, it's amazing. It takes a lot of dedication, but obviously I really have my doubts about this trend that's setting in, because here you have another guy who hardly has been. I mean, this guy has not been under 23. He went from the juniors to the professionals, and it happens more and more. So what I see is that, I mean, there are obviously some great talents. I personally think that, being 1 year in the under 23 international on the international scene is not bad for them, especially the way teams are set up. You can have them on a development team, and then they can race with the professionals now and then, but they stay in the under 23 category. My fear is that this becomes the norm. This becomes the new normal, and a kid who's 17, 18, and 19 and hasn't made it may lose his motivation, because, and I personally think there's still the other traditional way of, making it to the under 23 category, being up there, internationally, being really good, passing professional when you're 21, 22, and have those 1-2 years of adaptation. And when you're 24, 25, you're up there, there's nothing wrong with that. But seeing this trend, I'm honestly, I'm a little bit afraid for certain talent that may get lost. because when they're 18, 19, they are not up there to make that step. It's a huge step. You have to be super talented.
Yeah, and the pressure now, back in our, like, if we did this show 5-6 years ago, we'd be talking about this list and sort of trying to predict how good they would be in 5 years or in 6 years when they were 23, 24. Now these kids are expected to podium in grand tours at 19, 20 years old. It's a completely different thing from back in our day. And it's just interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what their longevity in the sport will be like.
We've been
being so good and so much pressure at such a young age, where it's not like they're going to a pro team and changing their diet, changing their training, their nutrition. That's already as good as it gets now at 18 years old. Exactly. So it's kind of changing all the dynamics the way we used to look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
I just looked up something before you go on to the next Belgian. I was curious. Belgium has a population of just under 12 million. Just to give you an idea, perspective for our U.S. listeners of how much talent we all know comes out of that country. That'd be like
Los Angeles.
If all the U.S. cyclists were coming out of Ohio.
Yeah, but
it's crazy.
It's a cultural thing.
Oh yeah.
Listen, cycling in Belgium is it's second to soccer, to football. And that's just if you're not good at soccer, you try and go be a cyclist. It's
and then hopefully one day be a real athlete.
And there,
or if
these guys.
If you didn't watch our last show, you got to watch it, because that's that one. I'm still sort of that one still stings.
That was funny. I had people reaching out to me, go, man, Lance can be funny at times.
And George's like, nah, not really. Believe me, I've known him a long time. He's not that funny. Okay,
but Belgians, I mean, first of all, there's a lot of development teams. There's a lot of races. That's the key, and it's the races are also concentrated. That there's so much opportunity. It doesn't take a big effort for a cyclist and for a family, because if you're up there 17, 18 years old and you have to travel 200-300 kilometers to a race, I mean that's hard on the kids and on the family. In Belgium, that's not the case. It's most of the races are in Flanders, not in Wallonia, and so basically you drive an hour and you get to any race.
Okay, here we go. So here our third rider, not yet, JB alluded to it, another Belgian, probably going to screw this name up too. Arnaud Delis. Is you also just mentioned this, Johan, the difference between, of course, in Belgium, you have the Flemish speaking part and the French speaking part, and you have the Flanders and Wallonia. It almost sounds a little, is he a Wallonie?
Yes.
Et voilà.
Yes. Yeah, he's a Walloon. But this kid, I mean, this is the name that I want you to remember for 2023.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
This kid is unbelievable. He last season in his debut year, he won 9 races, and not just any races. And then the way he won them was just, he's super fast, but he's also, I mean, he can go in little groups, and any slight uphill finish, there's just no way of beating him. This guy is, a combination between Bonen and Gilbert. And the guy is really, really, really good. He's the guy who saved Lotto to be in first position in the second division. His points of last year were the ones that really count to be up there and have those automatic invitations for all those races.
Wow.
And yeah, I think that kid is the real deal. And that's the one name. If of all these names, that's the one name that I want listeners to remember.
Interesting. When does he race first? This year?
I don't know.
Okay. Whoa, we stumped him, guys. That's very hard to do. It's very hard to do.
Johan, did you say where he was from? Which part?
He's
he's from the same part of Gilbert. He was
Gilbert. Okay, got it.
Yeah. He was a super fan of Gilbert when he was a kid.
Amazing.
Well, this is yet another extrapolation, right? Super fan of Gilbert. We have George. Do you still have that poster of him in your bathroom, Philippe Gilbert?
I do not. I don't ever recall having one.
Philippe, we have bad news. You retired. George took down the poster in his bathroom.
Yeah, the one that's still up there is Cab. Cab is still up there.
He's going to be racing in Valencia in 2 days.
Great.
Okay,
folks. See here. All right, next name, number 4.
Paris-Nice is a good one to watch for.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4 from Holland, Olaf Koij. Koij. By the way, folks, it's Kooig. Olaf Kooig. Koij.
Yeah, Koij. Cage.
And on Jumbo Visma, which
Yeah, I mean, he was already a World Tour rider last year. Won 12 races, including a World Tour stage in the Tour of Poland. Also, really good rider. Super fast, but can get over certain difficulties, certain obstacles, and and it has proven to be like a guy who, even when the pressure's on and the team is working for him, he's up there and finishes the job.
Cool. All right, next name. Also on the Pro Tour, Russian rider Evgeny Fedorov.
Yeah, Yevgeny
Fedorov, 22 years old. Yeah, on our old favorite team, Astana.
Yeah,
good boy.
Yeah, really good. I mean, 22. So I mean, it's crazy to say like he's already like on the limit of being one of those promises because he's 22 years old. But I've seen that guy do certain races, and especially the way he won the World Championships under 23 was unbelievable. I think that's a huge talent, like a really complete rider, a bit like I would say like Vlasov, a bit like Vlasov type of rider.
Can he lead out Cav?
No. He can do the work before though.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a completely different. But pay attention with Astana. They have some guys there that people would be surprised to lead out Cav. They have some good guys there.
Well, it's a lot of people forget they might not be known as the best lead out people in the world, but the moment you have somebody like Cav on your team, you get that little bit more respect in a lead out situation with 5K to go. And this will open the door for these guys that some of us may have never heard of to do some amazing lead outs for a guy like Cavendish.
Yeah.
All right. Next on the list, of course, just a continuation of the resurgence in British cycling in the last 10 years. Oscar Onley, 21 years old. He's riding for DSM.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was on the development team, did some, because of the system allows that development riders on a team are sometimes able to join the pros. I've seen this guy do some, really, I didn't know him, but the way he rode in the Tour of Croatia where Vingegaard after the tour reappeared and won, actually, no, he didn't win finally. He lost it with bonifications, but he won the hardest 2 stages. And this guy put Vingegaard on the limit on the 2 uphill finishes. I said, that guy. And then I followed him a little more. And now I just saw they signed him up for 4 years on the World Tour team. So they obviously must know his potential. And, a young guy who gets a 4-year contract, that's because they really believe in him.
And in your notes, you say he lacks technical experience. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to his agent, and he says that he needs to improve. If it's the smaller races like Tour of Croatia, it's easier to find your place in the bunch. But if it's a real war to get to those, critical points, those critical climbs, he seems to suffer a little bit. Apparently, he doesn't race very long. It's not a guy who has started as 14 or 15. He came to the sport later, and he has shown, on the international stage in the under 23 category, that he had some trouble finding his position. That's what I meant. Yeah.
In other words, starting the climbs in the front.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Next on the list, another Brit. And this kid, his Palmares speaks for itself, but Leo Hayter,
the brother of the brother of what's the first name?
Is it Ian?
No, this sounds really bad.
This is your show.
Bad.
Do not ask us.
There's a Leo and Ethan.
Ethan hater.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, we should even mention him. I mean, the guy's 23 or 24, but he already won the Tour of Poland, his brother. But this guy last year won the Baby Giro, like incredible. I mean, so far ahead of everybody else. And then obviously also won the Liège-Bastogne-Liège under 23, which I think is a confirmation. Seems to be still a little bit up and down with his form, but like during the year he has good moments and then not so good moments. But you know, if you can win those races, you know, Tom Pidcock won the Baby Giro the 2 years before. The year before, Ayuso won the Baby Giro. Last year he won it. I think that guy. Also, this guy comes from DSM. Actually, he was on the development team. They wanted to keep him on the Pro Tour, on the World Tour team, and didn't want to stay. Wanted to race together with his brother, and went to Ineos, which I think is logical.
All right. Before we continue on, I'll take a little station break here. Today's show also brought to you by HVMN. Here, check it out. I got my Ketone IQ ketone shot. I actually just slammed this before the show. I knew I was going to need a little mental clarity before this show, as I'm not an expert here, and so I just wanted to try and keep up. My ketone IQ is helping me to do that. G, how is it going with you on your ketone program?
Oh, great! I just got a gift pack from them yesterday, in fact, and love it.
I love these partners that just continue to send stuff.
Yes,
it's amazing. Like if you saw how much Element and Ketone IQ I have in my garage, we'd be getting broken into. I promise you. It's amazing. I love y'all. But no, for real. And honestly, with Ketone IQ and HVMN, probably more than any other partner, do I get questions from folks, whether it's I'm walking down the street or just texts from friends like, hey, is this legit? And I'm like, yes, it's legit. And nobody is disappointed. This is the world's first drinkable ketone, developed in 2017. Check this out. Also can cross the blood-brain barrier. So it supports brain and body, sustained energy, mental focus, sharpness. Just put your flow in for a long time. And again, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, very, very common and prevalent in the Peloton. So no secret anymore. Head on over to hvmn.com. Use the promo code THEMOVE20, THEMOVE20. That's for 20% off. Again, that's hvmn.com. Use the promo code THEMOVE20. Last one of the show, HELIX SLEEP. Wow. If you should, George, you should see my sleep data lately. It is next level.
Mine's good too.
Well, I saw that last night. It would be even better if you didn't sleep on the couch.
I was taking a nap.
Taking a nap on the couch at 1 a.m. But so here's the deal with the HELIX mattress. And again, just as a reminder, we talked about it before, named the #1 mattress by GQ and Wired magazine. You head on over to their website. That's helix.com, just helix.com. You take a 2-minute sleep quiz, talk about your sleep, your body type, your characteristics, your sleep preferences, and they will design the perfect custom mattress for you. And look, 2 minutes. What is 2 minutes? 2 minutes is nothing. I mean, I sleep 9 hours a night. I knocked out that quiz. Thing showed up on my front doorstep. Looked like a set of golf clubs. I opened this thing. I got a brand new mattress. They also have a 10-year warranty, and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. HELIX is offering up to $200 off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows. For our listeners, head on over to helixsleep.com/themove. All right, jumping back in.
We're going back to Belgium. Alec.
Johan, you just say these names. Alec Segard.
Yeah.
20 years old, also with Lotto. Look, I just want to acknowledge too. I mean, Lotto obviously got relegated. This is a team that is in desperate need of up and comers. Like whatever, all the credit to Caleb Ewan and how he can win races. This is a team that needs to be reimagined and reinvented. Yeah. So it's cool to see two names on this list that are on that team. Kind of got to have it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think Lotto's, it's a bit the price they pay. Also, they're famous for investing in young riders. It's the typical form, where talents are formed and developed. This guy comes from their development team and had some really good results. I mean, if you look, he's European champion time trial under 23. He was second in the World Championships time trial, and which was a huge surprise to me. Won not Liège-Bastogne-Liège, but Tour of Lombardy under 23. And this guy, I mean, I know this guy. He's from very close to my hometown, and he's a big guy. He's tall. He's muscular. You would not expect that this guy can win the Tour of Lombardy, and the fact that he was able to do that, to me, was a big surprise. But it shows that he's a very, very complete rider. And obviously, he focuses on time trial. He's that's his thing. But if you can climb like he does and he can time trial, you can win one week races, in his first few years as a professional. So I think that's what he's going to go for.
All right. Last one on the main list. We do have some honorable mentions, but the last name on the main list, Johan's main list, from Switzerland, Jan Christian.
Kristen, yeah. So I'm
batting 0% on pronouncing any of these names, but
do you know this guy?
18
George?
Years old.
I do not know.
Okay, so he won the World Championships cyclocross juniors last year in the United States, and then proved to be a really good on the road. Went already to several training camps at 17 years old, because he was 17 back then, with UAE, and they have him locked in. So they obviously have seen his potential. He's for half of the season, the beginning of the season, he's on Axion, on Axel Merckx's team, and then makes the shift to the pro team of UAE. And what they're saying about him is this guy's the real deal. Also, like 18 years old and already being up there at that level. Definitely a name we have to remember.
Is he racing pro cyclocross now?
No, he was. No, I don't think so. I think he won the. I personally don't think he's a real cyclocross rider. Let's not forget last year's course in the World Championships. Cyclocross was very fast. There was a lot of really fast sections, and he won it in a 3-man sprint, I think. And I think he himself sees him more as a road racer than a cyclocross racer.
Okay, excellent. Before we get to the honorable mentions, I just want to acknowledge something. We just talked about all these young kids that Johan has identified, as he does so well, to be our up and comers. I just want to note, there's not one Spaniard, there's not one Italian, there's not one German. And it just goes to this point that we make often, like cycling is cyclical, right? There are periods where, and also of note, there's no South Americans, but there was, 4 or 5 years ago, all we were talking about were South Americans, and 20 years ago, we were talking about Americans, and 10 years ago, Australians. It's very cyclical, right? So there's, I just thought it was interesting to note, no Spanish, no Italian, and no German.
Well, I think, as I said before, this could be a lot longer list. There are some talents there, and some of them need just another year or 2 years to develop. What I personally think it's more remarkable is that I have not found any South American that is up there on the under 23 scene. That we've like 3-4 years ago we were talking about the invasion of the Colombians, right? They all the talents came from there, and now I don't know what's happening. If the federation in Colombia is being, too relaxed or what's happening, but it's not a coincidence that it's Quintana, Superman Lopez, both of them obviously have the potential and the talent, but they're out. They have no team. And then you have Egan Bernal, you have Dani Martinez, you have Higuita and Rigoberto Urán. Those are the names, right? And I haven't found any Colombian in that age range that was worth mentioning here. Maybe they're there, maybe they didn't get the opportunity to race on the international scene, but I think it's remarkable that we didn't find a South American.
Is this going to be your same list on La Movida? You got to find some. You got to find some names for your La Movida show.
They're not going to be happy if I send this list.
Right.
The crazy thing is that your Spanish guys from last year, they've technically aged out of this list, and they're not even 21 years old. Correct? Ayuso and Rodriguez. They're phenomenal. They're still sort of up and comers, but they've had an amazing season last year.
All right, let's talk about our honorable mentions. We'll just touch on them, and maybe Johan, if you got a point or two to make, go ahead. Lenny Martinez.
Mm-hmm. Lenny Martinez, the son of Miguel Martinez,
exactly,
the famous mountain bike rider, world champion. I think cycling family. I think Miguel Martinez's dad was also a pro, and his grandfather was a pro, and so cycling family. Him and Romain Grégoire, those two French riders, young riders. I think they're 19 both. They were very dominant in the stage races, real climbers, and they were on the Française des Jeux development team. That's a really, really nice program. There's some riders there, some Australians and British riders that are coming from that team that have also huge talent. But these two, to put French riders in there, I wanted to mention those two. So they're making the Française des Jeux has, I think, 8 or 9 riders from their development team turning pro.
Wow.
This year.
So, and I was just down at Tucson riding with Matthew Riccatello and his dad, Jimmy. And so I've added Matthew because I love the kid to my list of honorable mentions. But he specifically, if you asked him who to put on this list, he would say those two French guys, especially our next honorable mention, Romain Grégoire. According to Matthew, he's one of these riders that's kind of nothing he can't do.
Yeah.
Like he is well-rounded and, mature and just strong as an ox. That would be the one guy that he would put Romain Grégoire at the top of the list.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I put them there because they're French. I wanted to put Magnus Sheffield on top because, but those two guys. This is
international relations from the Belgian guy. This is great. But you would put the American, why? I mean, just because it's an American podcast.
Well, we're an American podcast, so.
All right, next on the list, Thomas Gloag.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I do not know how to pronounce that name, actually. If that's Gloag or Gloak, or I don't know where he's from. He may be Welsh, or I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. But this is a guy that Ineos wanted, and he went to Jumbo-Visma. And I'm hearing great things about him. I don't have the details on, he didn't really stick out for wins, but he was always up there in all the international under 23 races, always up there. And if Jumbo-Visma wants him, not coming from their development team, because Jumbo-Visma has a huge program for their development team, means that the guy's really good.
Wow. Are any of these development teams, like the big ones, are the development riders committed to go into their Pro Tour team, or they don't have any rights once they leave the development team to stay on those main teams?
I think there's no law that can force these guys to go there. There's been talks about, which I think would be actually really good. There's been talks about teams who have development teams, and the riders of their development teams go to other teams, that there's some kind of compensation.
Like almost like soccer, like a transfer fee.
Yeah, but it's really minimal. I mean, it's ridiculous. The amount is really it's nothing. But I don't think that legally they can force them to go to the pro team, to the world tour.
I guess you just hope you build this relationship and goodwill that they're obviously going to look at your pro tour team first, right? But
yeah.
It's hard though. I mean, we talked about Lotto and how these two kids were developed there. You're not talking about similar budgets. So when it comes time to make the hop to the pros, and you have the likes of Ineos and Jumbo-Visma and UAE, et cetera, with massive budgets. I mean, money
Johan,
talks.
Johan, or maybe you guys know, maybe George, I know you've been in the development team scene, but is there one program that's just far superior to any other? Like that's the development team you would want to be on?
Well, I mean, I know you asked George the question, but I mean, again, in talking to the Riccatellos, like Axel's team this year, Action, however they say it, is a ridiculous lineup. I mean, the whole team is stacked. And I think a lot of that, and not to cut you off or answer for George, but because I want to hear his opinion, but he's got so much momentum. These kids, that is the place they want to go.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that one of the kids that won our Grand Fondo here, the junior race, is a kid named Artem Schmidt. I think he was 5th at the World Championships. A really big kid. He's probably 180 pounds, 6'3". Rumor is he turned down an offer from Movistar. I don't know how true it is, just to go to Axel's team because of, the talent they have developed, their history in the past. Just really he feels nurtures riders like himself, young guys that we all know when you get, as an American or a non-European, you sort of get thrown to the wolves when you go to Europe. And a lot of guys, they don't spend much time there. Once they get there, they're just so lost that their talent just disappears because they're just not comfortable. So it's really important at that age as well to feel comfortable, being a good ambiance, and sort of feel like a team that feels like home.
Yep. All right. Last name on this list, both lists, Max Poole. What do we got, Johan?
Yeah, Max Poole, also a British rider, young. His agent is Andrew McQuaid. I spoke to him about, I showed him the list, and he told me that this guy, obviously he's representing him, but that guy is somebody who has the talent to make it. He's a bit worried also about, this trend of being 18, 19 and like feeling the pressure of having to go to make it to the world tour, but told me really good things about him. Another Brit. So lots of Brits.
Cyclical.
And then one guy I didn't put it on the list, but I want to mention is an 18-year-old Antonio Morgado, Portuguese. Heard incredible things about him, the way he wins races, the way he destroys a race. Also goes to Axel's team. I don't think he will pass to the World Tour team yet. But also, 18-year-old kid, incredible power, and apparently a real animal.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that concludes our list of up-and-comers for 2023, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the trend we're seeing, that's one last thing I would like to say is that we see this, the really big teams like Jumbo Visma, UAE, they have these. DSM is not, but apparently they have a huge development program. Française des Jeux has a huge. I mean, that's where these guys are built. And I remember seeing one stage, the second last stage in Tour de l'Avenir. They race with their national team and their country's jersey. And out of the 7 riders in the front group in the last mountain stage, there was 4 riders on a Cervelo Jumbo Visma, all from different countries. So obviously that's this is the goal of these guys. The juniors, they want to get into these teams and they're picked up. I mean, I heard an interview of one of the coaches in cyclocross, and they start recruiting right now when they're 14, 15 years old. That's when they start to, not signing contracts, but, approaching the families, giving them bikes, giving them, stuff, inviting them to training camps to kind of make them feel already part of the group.
That's not dissimilar to what, JB, I think you were probably going to say this, but dissimilar to what we see here in the US for the mainstream sports here. I mean, they are looking at, these kids are at summer camps and again, whether it's IMG or all these things, they are identifying athletes at
they're recruiting in Pop Warner teams. Football.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, time will tell. Johan, you've done a great job in the past. The pressure is on. The better you do, the more pressure there is, and time will tell. So good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
I feel good about my list, though.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Wait. Before we go, we're going to be on Sunday for Tour Down Under recap. Myself, Johan, and Spencer. Just want to let everybody get that on their radar. And then this crew back together March 1st with the Classics preview.
Awesome.
Great.
Awesome. Cool. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again.
Thanks.